it going, guys?
Awesome.
Do we have everyone here? Who's going to be here? How have your sessions been so far today? I guess you only had one today, right?
Yeah.
How was it?
Good.
Did you all hear the same one?
No.
Wait, who'd you hear from? Two different groups, I think, here. Who did you hear from today?
You sum it up like he was talking about ethics, and he was a consultant, and like how you should provide benefits to e-board members, I guess,
Oh,
or
gotcha.
officers of the business.
Excellent. What did the other one talk about? Anyone in the other session?
Mergers.
Mergers?
When shareholders, yeah,
Okay.
the vice president of AT&T, he was talking about making businesses.
Gotcha. Cool. So I have a funny story. So I presented last night as well. And first of all, I think it's really awesome that you're all here. But literally, last night I was getting ready, and the group was in here waiting like you were. And there was a kid sitting right here, and his name was Greg. And his phone rang. And he picked it up. We hadn't quite got started yet. And he goes, I'm guessing the person on the other line said, "Where are you?" And he said, "I'm at boot camp." And he goes, yeah, no, I'm telling you the truth. And he walks over in the corner like this. And there was actually a door to go out. And he walks over in the corner and he goes, no, seriously, dude, I'm at boot camp and I'm sober, I promise. And I thought that was really interesting because on a Friday night, there are a lot of other places you could be. And I thought it was really cool that you guys were here and that he was sober. So I thought that was really neat. I want to, just to get started, I want to introduce myself. My name is Chase Turner, and I want to open it up to you first of all. What do you need to know about me today in order to have an engaging discussion? My credentials? Well, what about my credentials? I'll tell you pretty much anything you want to know. Pretty much. Where did I go to school? I graduated from the University of Wyoming, College of Business, degree in business administration, minor in finance, and a certificate in real estate.
Are you from Wyoming?
I am from Wyoming.
Where in Wyoming?
I'm from a place called Star Valley, which is about 40 miles south of Jackson Hole. Y'all know where Jackson Hole is. Big ski town. So grew up skiing, snowboarding, all that good stuff. Beautiful place. Small place, rural community. It's are you familiar with Wyoming?
Yeah, we're from Montana. So.
Oh, nice. Cool. Yeah, the place I grew up is it's about a 60-mile valley they call Star Valley, and we all go to one central high school. So there's only 800 in the 60-mile valley. There's only 800 kids in the high school. So it was a neat place to grow up. But I live in Denver now.
What do you do for work now?
What do I do for work now? Good question. I work for a private foundation called the Daniels Fund. The Daniels Fund is actually the same Daniels that the Daniels College of Business is named after. It's Bill Daniels Foundation, and Bill Daniels is actually the one that this college is named after. He was a pioneer in the cable television industry. Made billions of dollars. When he died about 10 years ago, actually 11 years ago, he died in 2000. He left the majority of his estate to the Daniels Fund. It was $1.2 billion. It's a lot of money. And he left it with a very specific purpose. He wanted to be left with a philanthropic purpose. So this organization will stand in perpetuity, which means it will last forever. So we internally do a few things. We invest the money, and we only operate off of the interest. Our goal is to never dip into the principal. And then with that money, he was very specific about where he wanted his money to go and what he wanted done with it. So we give it away in scholarships and grants. And we give about 250 scholarships every year to kids who demonstrate character, leadership potential, and commitment to service, among a few other things. But that's, in a nutshell, I work in our scholarship department, so I work on selecting who we give that scholarships to, and some other aspects of our program.
How did you get involved there?
How did I get involved there? That is actually a really good question. I have kind of a similar story to Corey Cicchetti, actually, of how I got involved at the Daniels Fund is the same way he got involved with the Daniels College of Business. I was working in the real estate industry. I was working for a small to mid-sized company, traveling all over the country. We did site acquisition for wireless carriers. Actually, AT&T was one of our clients. Verizon, T-Mobile. We did some commercial real estate stuff for like Starbucks, Abercrombie and Fitch, those types of places. I was making a really, really good living. My wife was also working at the time. We didn't have any kids at that time, so double income, no kids. We were doing okay. But really, for me, at the end of the day, there was something missing. We were doing a lot for ourselves, but I felt like there was more that I could contribute to society. And long story short, and I'm a huge proponent of networking. I was invited to an event. I attended it, and you're going to see some of that. I was invited to a premiere of a film called Code of the West, Alive and Well in Wyoming. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the Code of the West today because it's something that's been very important to me. But I attended this event. I happened to meet the CEO of the Daniels Fund there because the Daniels Fund was supporting this program through their one of their grants, through their ethics initiative, and met her a couple months later. The position I'm in open. Didn't really, I knew it was a great organization. I knew it's something I could potentially want to be involved in, but someone just said, you should submit your resume. I didn't even think there was a chance. I had no related experience to scholarships. I had no related experience to private foundations, but I got the job, and here I am. So that's how I got involved in it, and I'm very, very excited to be here. What else do you need to know? Anything? Well, if there's anything that pops up, feel free to ask me. I have a question for you. What do you want to hear from me today? What will make this interesting for you?
How to live an ethical life.
How to live an ethical life? Okay, that's good. I like that. And you know what? I really like that. I'm gonna give you a raffle ticket. Any of you win the iPad last night? No.
We're
Good
gonna
luck.
tonight, though.
Good luck.
Look at you.
What else? So how to live an ethical life. What else do you want?
Like how that pertains to business.
How it pertains to business. Okay. Okay. So how to live an ethical life and how it pertains to business.
Valuable, unique experiences that you can teach us that no one else could.
Okay. Some unique experiences. Okay. I can do that. I can do all those things actually. What else?
Something, if you were in our shoes in the middle of college, listening to a talk, what you would want to hear, like what you would have done then,
Okay.
before you started your career.
Okay. Those are all good starts. I will do my best to touch on all of those points, and if I miss anything, I want you to help me stay on track. Okay. So, as you saw in the program, we're calling this. I decided to call this building your personal brand, and it's one thing that I feel really important about. I actually, as far as like how this applies today, I have a funny story. My father-in-law is an executive of a telephone company. He was interviewing. They bought a company and they were interviewing for a CEO, and they had a bunch of people come through. And I think the guy that he was the top candidate was probably in his mid-40s, so he's a long time out of college. Well, he comes in and they interview him, and he's ends up being a great candidate. Well, they go to offer him this job. They call him back and they offer him the job, and they said, and part of our process in order for us to really make this official is we have to do a background check. So this guy said, well, I want to tell you something that's going to come up in my background check. Now keep in mind this guy is like mid-40s, okay? And he said, when I was in college, I joined a fraternity. And one night, we were drinking, we were having a party, and we decided to go out and be stupid and steal some bikes. Not even really steal some bikes, just ride some bikes. And so that they went out to the bike rack and they got these bikes and they took off. So it just happened that the bike that this guy stole happened to, the value of that bike happened to be like as much as a car. And over the limit of it being from a misdemeanor to a felony. And he was charged with a felony. And this guy, you know, as silly as that may sound, my father-in-law looked at him and he said, "I'm sorry, I can't hire you because our policy says that we will not hire felons." And for me, when he told me that story, it was very impactful. That, I mean, this guy has lived his, you know, obviously had a successful career. He was very well qualified, but at the end of the day, it was the decisions he made in the past that were affecting him, I mean, way beyond college. And so I tell you that because that relates to your personal brand in the things that you do today will not only affect you today, but they'll affect you tomorrow, they'll affect you at the end of college, they'll affect you way into your career, all right? So another thing, I have a lot of stories. So this, yesterday was Thursday. I was in a meeting, so part of our scholarship program, what we try to do is we try to position our scholarship recipients in the best possible career opportunities when they get ready to finish college. We try to help them network and create some connections and place them in the best opportunity for their career. So not only are they successful in college, but they can go beyond and they can be successful in life, they can contribute to their communities, and they can be productive citizens, okay? So we invited, it was 10 CEOs from the Denver area. I mean, these are major players in not only the Denver community, but nationally and globally. And one of the gentlemen that was there was he's an executive of a global organization. I'm not going to tell you his name or what his organization is, but we asked these guys, that the purpose of this meeting was to ask them, what are you looking for in college graduates? What do you want to see when these graduates come out of college? What are you looking for when you hire them? So it was interesting. What do you think they said?
That's a work experience, maybe? Like, do they put themselves through college or how do they get to college?
Work experience, how do they get through college? Absolutely. They did mention that. What else do you think they said?
Probably character.
Character. Yes, they absolutely mentioned character. Any other comments? What's that? Involvement. Yes, all those things. You guys have got it going on in here. It was interesting to me because one of the things they said is we might consider GPA, but most of the time we don't even look at GPA. At least this is what this gentleman said. We don't look at GPA, and as a matter of fact, we don't even look at where they attended college. You know what we want to know? When they come in for an interview, every person has a story, and we want to hear their story. What makes you you, and why are you the best person for this job? And they said, and you know what we're looking for when we ask those questions? We're looking for character. We want the best and brightest, yes, but if you come out of college and you have a 4.0 GPA, and you're the top of your class, but you don't have any character, we don't want you. That was profound to me. And they went on to talk about, and the reasoning behind that is they said, you know, if you go on and you know, we groom you and you become, you know, whatever it is in our company, we don't want you to be a liability. We always want to know that you're going to do the right thing, that we don't have to worry about, you know, you being on the news for whatever it is. We don't want you to be an executive of our company and pad the books and have our company go under. Pretty profound stuff. So I tell you that because really a huge part of building your personal brand is the decisions you make, and it's really about your character. It's really about who you are inside. And so I would encourage every one of you, I know you're a little ways out from careers, but think about what you're doing today to build your character. And being here is huge, but being here is not enough. You really need to internalize the things that you're learning today, and that not only today, but you know, throughout your college career. I know, you know, DU is what, number 2 in ethics in the nation. That's pretty incredible. So let me tell you a little bit, as business students, I want to tell you a little bit about some of the principles that impacted me as far as, you know, being ethical and the decisions that I make even today. So, as you know, as business students, a huge part of marketing is your brand, right? And your brand says a ton about you. And I was at, so this event I was telling you about that I was invited to, this Code of the West. A little bit of background on that, and I'm going to introduce you to this. But so there's a gentleman by the name of Jim Owen. He was the one who produced this film, and he was a very, very successful Wall Street man. And he would tell you himself, he's become a good friend of mine personally, and he lives in Austin, Texas. He would tell you that when he left Wall Street, he was very sort of disgruntled and disappointed with the way he saw business people on Wall Street behaving. And he personally says, you know, the economy would not be in the state it's in if these people were behaving ethically. And so he wrote this book, and I want to show you what it looks like. Let's see here. He wrote this book called Cowboy Ethics: What Wall Street Can Learn from the Code of the West. And in this book, he basically outlined 10 principles of what Wall Street can learn from the Code of the West. Can you all see that? Okay? All right. And when I attended this event, it impacted me so much. And I know right now you're probably thinking, you know, Cowboys, seriously, come on. I mean, are there any Cowboys in this room? I'm personally not a Cowboy myself, obviously. You know, I'm not wearing boots or chaps or a hat or anything. But I do believe that these principles apply to everyone, regardless of your lifestyle. So you might be thinking what some of these kids were thinking, so I want to show you this video. Maybe.
When I first came into the class, I was like, Cowboys? Ethics? Okay. Whatever.
I came into this class and I saw the book and I felt so childish. I was like, Cowboys? Come on.
I wasn't too sure about it, you know? Like, I wasn't into Cowboys at all, or that lifestyle.
I think when I first heard about it, it was kind of weird because I never really read about Cowboys and how they run things.
At first, they might be really standoffish and they might think it's a class about Cowboys, but it's a class about being a better person inside yourself.
In your heart, you know what's right and what's wrong, and doing it not so easy. The Cowboys lived by their code, their principles, and they did it each day, even when it was broken.
Alright, so is that what some of you were thinking when I said Cowboys?
I just want to know where they found all those mismatched people together.
Actually, that's a good question. There's a woman who actually is now, Jim Owen formed a foundation called the Center for Cowboy Ethics and Leadership, and there's a woman named Ann Moore who's the executive director. She's also a teacher at Cherry Creek High School here in Denver, and she actually, this Code of the West is part of the curriculum of her class. So these are actually students in her high school class that are saying this. If you think about Cherry Creek High School, I don't know those of you from Denver, I would venture to say that there are probably very few Cowboys in Cherry Creek High School. But what I want to talk to you a little bit about is each of those principles. And let me pull this up. You heard, I know last night I listened to Corey, and he mentioned that his message was all about courage. And that's what part of this is about. So I was glad to hear that his message was about courage. Any of you on Team Courage? No? What teams are you?
Ambition.
Ambition? What's the other one?
Zeal.
Zeal. I love Sounds good. Actually, I want to share you, so I'm going to get into my personal life here a little bit, okay? My wife yesterday, so I was sitting at a meeting, and I don't recommend this, but I had my cell phone with me. I have two little girls, 3 and 1, and I have a son on the way who is due at any moment. So we're going to be a busy family. So I've been keeping my phone by me because literally she could call at any moment, and I would have to, take off and head for the hospital. But she sends me this email, and you can see it up here, 3:20 p.m. I'm in this meeting, and I hear my phone. I'm like, I'm checking my email under the table, but I see this, and it made my entire day. I don't know where she found this, but the title of the email is "Your New Motto," and then she said, "This so reminded me of you." So let me show you what this is. This is John Wayne, and courage is being scared to death but saddling up anyway. I love that. So what does living each day with courage mean to you? What's that?
Don't be afraid to try new things.
Don't be afraid to try new things. I like that. What's your name?
So,
Soy?
yeah.
You are so engaged. I love your. Oh, looks like you got one of the last section too.
Yeah, he's gonna sell that.
Nice. Oh. That's a businessman right there.
Yeah.
Right? I like your style. Okay, that's good. What? Anyone else have any comments about courage?
I'd say as it pertains to ethics, courage is being ethical when everyone else isn't.
What does that mean? Say more about that.
Sort of going against the grain, even though that's more difficult than throwing in with the rest of the group. It can really make a difference, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like that. Did you get one of these?
Yeah, earlier it's fine. No.
No, did you get one from me?
What? No, that's fine.
Well, I want to give you one.
Okay.
Because I love your comments. Good luck with the iPad.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so well, let's move on to the next one. How about take pride in your work? What does that mean to you?
You put
Go.
your name on it, so.
You go first, and then tell me your name.
I'm Chris. Basically, like anything that you put on your name, or you put your name on, should be your best work. Like, don't undersell yourself because that's what people are gonna remember you by. So, like, take pride in yourself, take pride in your work too.
Totally. And when you think of your personal brand, one motto that I've always lived by is if it has my name on it, I don't care if it's an individual piece of work, and I don't care if it's part of a team. If my name is associated with that, it better be the best. Because at the end, if anyone were to look and say, who created this, and it's garbage, I don't want my name associated with it. Okay? So I love your comment. That's great. Did you have something to say about that?
Just kind of the same thing as that, but like sometimes people will disagree with what you say and what I guess your work is, but like taking pride in it is being able to stand up for what you did and like, what you believe.
Right. Yeah, I love that. That's great. So, what about the next one? Always finish what you start. What does that mean?
Never quit.
Soy?
Never quit.
Never quit. Love it. Any of you ever started something and not finished it? Yeah, I know I have. How do you feel?
Unaccomplished.
Unaccomplished? Yeah, absolutely. For me, it weighs on the back of my mind, like, man, I should really finish that. And then another day goes by and I don't finish it, and it still nags me. There is a sense of accomplishment and a sense of pride that comes when you finish what you start. Next thing, do what has to be done. What do you guys think over here? Not to put you on the spot.
Be responsible.
Being responsible. I like that. I have a. Actually, thanks for the input. I appreciate that. Good luck. When you get that. Is it an iPad or an iPad 2?
iPad 2.
Oh, nice. Even better. Very nice. What'd you say?
What's the difference
Does anyone even buy the original iPad anymore? Probably not. You have it?
But I didn't buy it before or after the iPad came.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, this is totally off topic, but I bought an iPad like 3 weeks before the new one came out, and I love Apple, and I'll tell you why I love Apple, because I took it back as soon as I heard the new one was coming out. I took it back into the store and said, why would I want the first iPad when there's a new one coming out in a week? And the guy was like, yeah, no problem, just bring it back next week and we'll trade it. Gave me a new iPad 2 in place of my iPad. I thought it was awesome. I think I was within the 30-day return period, but anyway, totally off topic. But I have a story about doing what has to be done. So when I was in the real estate industry, so part of what we would do is we would represent these clients like Verizon and AT&T. And I don't know if any of you can do this, but when you make a call on your cell phone, the signal is transmitted wirelessly to a cell phone tower, which has an antenna on it, and then it takes that signal and actually runs it through a landline. Do you know that? And then it sends the signal up to whoever you're calling, the nearest tower that the tower that they're nearest to. It sends a wireless signal out to their phone, and then obviously it creates a connection. So in order to have service on your cell phone, you have to have those cell sites, they call them. And what we would do is we would the client in Verizon, for example, would call us and they would say, hey, we need a cell site, and they would send us all the information. We need a cell site within a 1 mile radius of this latitude and longitude. And so we would take that information and we would go out and we would search the area for a tall building or a water tank or a flagpole or something that they could attach their antennas to. And if there was nothing and there was a piece of raw land, we would lease this raw land and build a new tower on it. Granted, it could be approved through the city or the county. And part of this, so when we would go to the clients, we would, even though we were contracted by them, we would say to them, I would represent myself as Chase with Verizon. And we had a gentleman that was working for us. And he, well, I'll get into him a little bit. But, so I get a call one day. So we would negotiate these leases on behalf of these clients. I get a call one day from a landowner. And they said, hey, I got my lease check, my check for my lease, and I'm just wondering where I should write my check to. I said, what are you talking about? We're paying you, Verizon is paying you to lease that space. You shouldn't be writing a check to anybody. And they said, this person on the phone said, yeah, well, I've got this agreement that says that there's a brokerage fee, and I'm just calling to pay the brokerage fee. And I said, well, how often do you have to pay the brokerage fee? Well, it says every month for as long as this lease. So this is a 30-year agreement, okay? Every month for 30 years. So come to find out, the gentleman that negotiated this deal had written a side contract. And he had represented himself as the client, and he must have told them I'm a contractor, but I'm a broker also. So I'm going to write the side agreement, and then my brokerage fee for bringing this deal to you is, you're going to give me, you need to write me your brokerage fee. He negotiates this deal that they're going to pay him an incredible amount of money for the next 30 years. So I, of course, said to the landlord, can you send me a copy of that agreement just so I can verify this? So, of course, they do. And this guy was actually a very, someone that I knew well. I liked the guy. He was a good guy, at least I thought. And I took it in and to one of the owners of the company. I said, hey, here's what's going on, and what should we do? And the owner said, we need to fire him. And we need to fire him now. So this relates to doing what has to be done, because sometimes you're going to be put in those positions, and it's going to be hard because the person that you're dealing with, you might like. It might even be someone that you went to school with. But what would happen if I would have just slid that under the rug? I don't know. I really don't know what would have happened, but I know that I would have had a guilty conscience because it's not right. And So we fired this guy, we called him up and we let him know. The thing that was interesting to me is he wasn't even really, he knew it was coming. He knew what he was doing was wrong, but he wasn't even really remorseful. He was like, yeah, okay, you know, who knows how many of these deals he cut on the side. And he was making a lot of money. He was making a lot of money on the front end of the deal, but then he was making a lot of money, obviously, on the back end of the deal. So, personal experience about, you know, sometimes you have to do what has to be done. Fifth, be tough but fair. What do you guys think? What does that mean to you? Anybody? Chris?
I don't know, like I just think about it like in sports and stuff where you have like a coach, like they'll probably be pretty hard, like you have to train hard and stuff like that, but they're always fair in a sense that they're not gonna give you something you can't accomplish.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I like that. One of my favorite quotes is, "Discipline is a form of love." And I really believe that, especially with my kids. You know, I love my kids. Sometimes I'm telling you, my 3-year-old, she can be something else. Let me just tell you that. And you know, sometimes you have to discipline them. Doesn't mean you don't love them, no. But yeah, you be tough but fair, and I think you'll learn that in business, that you do have to be tough, but you also have to be fair. You know, you don't want people to walk all over you, but you need to make sure that you're being fair as well. What about when you make a promise, keep it? Anyone had any experiences with that when someone may have broken a promise, made you a promise and they didn't keep it? Anyone ever heard the word integrity?
I can't think of any specific examples right now of when someone's broken a promise to me, but I think what that specific part of the code means is that you may have contracts and you may have obligations on one level, and it's one thing to follow your contracts and obligations, but it's another to keep with the spirit of the promise of the contract. So you may be able to, you know, wiggle your way out of the contract specifically, but actually doing that is not the fair thing and not the right thing to do. It's about the spirit of what you said and what you meant, and keeping that promise to another person.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Can I get you to come up here for a second?
Sure.
Go ahead. Make
Well,
your
I think
comment.
it's also about trust too. I mean, when you make a commitment, people rely on you and they expect you and hold you to certain expectations, and that you would follow through. And so I think it also goes back to 3, always finish what you start. 2,
Right.
when you say you're going to do something, follow through.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great comment, and they are all sort of intermingled here. Come up here for a second. So, if I tell, you go by Tom or Thomas?
Thomas.
Thomas?
Yeah.
If I tell Thomas, you know, I'm going to do something, you know, let's say we're in a business agreement,
Yeah.
and I tell you, Thomas, you have my absolute word, this deal's going to get done.
Yeah.
It's good doing
Good deal.
business with you.
Yep.
That should be good enough. My word and a handshake should be good enough. Unfortunately, in the world we live in, that's not good enough. You can sit down now.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you. The crazy thing is that we have, I mean, some of the contracts we had for just a simple lease agreement were 15 pages long. And they went through every, you know, thing, and it was kind of embarrassing sometimes, because I would go to someone and I would say, you know, this road here that leads to your property, yeah, absolutely, we'll take care of it. And we'll make sure that it's not damaged. If we happen to come in here when it's raining and we leave ruts, we'll come back and we'll fix it. You have my word. But you know what? That wasn't good enough, because I'm not there anymore. And the guy behind me might come along and say, oh, it's not in the contract, so we're not going to fix it. I think there's something wrong with that. And I think that our word is our bond. For me, my word is my bond. If I tell you I'm going to do something, you better believe I'm going to do it. So remember that in business. You know, your word should be your bond. A couple more of these. Talk less and say more. What does that mean to you?
I think it fits exactly into
Tell
what we just said.
Your participation.
Yeah, I think it fits exactly into what we just said. you can write out a 40-page contract, or you can just say something to another person. You can say, I will take care of this road. Or you can have every last little detail, like it's going to be filled in with gravel, and then it's going to be, we're not going to drive on it when it's raining. Or you can just say, don't worry about the road, we'll take care of it. And you can hold somebody to what they say, to their promise.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I think I skipped one up here too. And that is a, did I give you a ticket already?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because I really want you to win this
other
iPad.
people. Let other people talk.
The writing for the brand, I think I skipped that one. But I want to tell you a quick story. First of all, what is, when I say writing for the brand, you think about your personal brand, what does that mean?
Representing yourself in a good light.
Representing yourself in a good light.
Staying
That's-
true to your values.
Staying true to your values, absolutely. I love that. Do you get a ticket as a student here? Did you get a ticket already? No. Thanks. I appreciate that. Good luck in the iPad. So there was a guy that I did business with, and we were actually in Vegas at a conference one time, and I don't drink. Usually I end up being the designated driver, but this guy was drinking, and it seemed like the more he drank, the more he told me. And anyway, so we're sitting there, we're having this conversation, and I know, this guy, I know him pretty well. I know his wife. He has 2 beautiful children. His wife is absolutely gorgeous. And he's telling me these stories. So this guy was a contractor for us. So he was representing our company. He was representing the client. And he had a cell site that the perfect location was on this used car lot. Okay? And granted, this is a true story. He told me this out of his own mouth. And we're sitting there, and he proceeds to tell me, oh yeah, it was this used car lot. And what would happen is the client would come to us in these lease agreements, and they would say, here's our parameters that we will pay. Obviously, we want to pay the least amount possible, but if we need to, we can go up to this amount without any approval. If you go over that amount, you need to call us for approval. So we had a little bit of wiggle room, and obviously had some incentive to negotiate a lower deal. But this guy comes in, and he's dealing with the owner of this used car lot. And he makes the offer. I don't know what the offer was, but he makes the offer, and this owner said to him, is that the best you can do? And this guy looked at him and he said, you know what? I have an idea. I think I can get you a little more on your monthly rent if you'll throw in a car, for me personally. Literally, he did this. And you don't want to know what happened? The owner of the dealer said, you got it. You got a deal. So he negotiated this agreement. He on the client's dollar, and it was hundreds of dollars more. And it's a long-term agreement, so over the course of time, this is a lot of money. He says, okay, you got a deal. I want this car right over here, and we need to make sure this is clean. This is a personal deal to me. This is not in any of our paperwork, and this is between us. They do it. So he drives away with this new car, and the client is paying this guy more money than they really needed to. Is there something wrong with that? Was this guy writing for the brand in that scenario? Absolutely not. Writing for the brand to me means being loyal. It means being loyal to yourself, to your values. It means being loyal to your employer. It means being loyal to your clients. Loyalty is huge. Another story about this guy. This relates to the last one, know where to draw the line. Actually, it relates to kind of all these. So this same guy in the same conversation, he was a construction manager on a project that we were working on. He was down in El Paso, Texas. You from El Paso? All right. El Paso's a good place. So I was there just a couple months ago. This is crazy. So I told you, right, this guy has a beautiful wife. He has 2 beautiful children. And this, he's on this construction project, and he's in his hotel room and he's feeling a little lonely. So he calls a hooker. No joke. He tells me this out of his own mouth. He called the hooker. And the thing that I thought was weird about this is he was telling me like this was cool. Like, you know, look what I did. He calls this hooker. She comes to his room. They do whatever they did. I didn't want to know those details. And when she gets ready to leave, he says, "Can you give me a receipt?" No joke. So this woman pulls out a receipt, writes a receipt for the charges, writes locksmith on it. He takes that and he turns it into the client for a reimbursement. And you want to know what he told him? He told him, I locked myself out of the building and I couldn't get in, so I had to call a locksmith to let me in. And they paid it. They paid for this guy to bring a hooker into his room. Not only was it dishonest to the company, he cheated on his wife. I mean, there are so many things wrong with that story. But I'll tell you what did Corey define character as last night? Any of you remember?
The sum of all your actions.
The sum of all your actions, and I think he said, it's what you do when no one's watching. Does this guy have character? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The bottom line of that story is you are going to be in positions today, tomorrow, in your business career, when you can do things that no one else is going to know, and you might be able to get away with things like that. But it's what you do when no one is watching that is going to define you. That is going to define your character, who you are as a person. So, any questions about any of these principles?
I have a question. After you tell you that, what do you say?
I didn't know what to say, honestly. I really didn't. And I can't remember what I said. I was really disgusted. I'll tell you what, my level of respect for this gentleman went like to the bottom. I have absolutely no respect for him. Actually, at the time, he wasn't a contractor for us. I can tell you if he would have been, he wouldn't have been the next day. I can tell you that for sure.
Did you remember that you had a conversation?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. And like, oh yeah, I can tell you the nickname that he got, but I'm not going to. Yeah, he absolutely remembered. And whenever we'd see each other, you know, it was like we were buddies now because he disclosed these secrets to me. Very, very disgusted. So, probably the most important principle that's on here, or that isn't on here, is what I like to call the 11th principle. And I want to, how long do we have in here?
2 minutes, I think.
Really?
Yeah,
You're kidding.
We need to do 3:10. We have like 5 minutes. We can go over it.
Okay, will you give me 2 minutes? I want to close this. Perhaps the most important principle is the 11th principle. And that's the principle that's not on here, and that's your principle. That's your code. But I want to challenge each of you as you leave within the next week, develop your personal code. It might be one of these principles. It might be, I'll tell you what mine is. Mine is family first. I have like I said, I have kids, and for me, the thing that comes first in my life is my family. And at the end of the day, I know that my kids are watching me. There's a country song that says, "You've got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything." I don't know if any of you have heard that. But it's actually a son talking about his dad and how his dad always stood for something and he didn't fall for anything. And I hope that my kids can say that about me, and I hope that your associates can say that about you. And I believe that if you have that, if you have a solid foundation and you have a little bit of try, and I'm going to show you what try is, you can absolutely do anything. And so let me show you what try is, and then we'll get you out of here. This is a little cowboyish, so it's a little western, okay? I'm just gonna warn you, but you'll love it, I promise.
When I was riding bulls, I couldn't guarantee I was going to stay on. I couldn't guarantee I was going to score high. I couldn't guarantee I was going to win. I couldn't even guarantee that I was going to lose. But I could guarantee every single time that I would try harder than any other guy. I could guarantee that. I could guarantee that I was going to try as hard as I could possibly try. I remember when I was real young, my mom said, "Ty, you have an extra supply of try." I think it's pretty universal in the sport of rodeo and around cowboys because so many of the things that you do require it. It sounds like a cliche, but I felt like I won every time that I knew that I gave it everything I had. And I still feel that way in whatever I'm doing. You know, I feel like if I give it my best effort, if I give everything I've got from the bottom of my guts, then that's all I can do anyway. And if you do that, what else can you expect of yourself? Having the fans and having people to cheer for you and having people to watch you and having the crowd and the energy that you get from the crowd, I love that part, and that part's great. But I don't know that I set out to show the world that I could do it. I set out to show me that I could do it.
Alright, so my message to you today is be true to yourself, be true to your values, and if you, like I said, if you have a solid foundation and you have a little bit of try and you give it 100% all the time, I promise you'll be successful. And I was asked a question last night, why am I here? One of the students asked me that, why do you want to be here? And the reason I want to be here is because you will be the leaders for my children. And I want my children to have good examples, and I want them to have examples that, you know, have character, that have values. And I want this country to remember what we stand for. And you will be those leaders, I promise you. You will be. And that's my message to you today. I have some cards for you. I carry one of these around in my wallet to remind me of those principles of my 11th principle. Jim Owen, actually, I called him when I told him I was doing this presentation. I called him, and he sent these free of charge. So these are for you. Please come and get one on your way out, and thanks for having me.